everyone, thanks for watching the CB vlog right here on YouTube. If you like these videos, go ahead and hit subscribe. Do us a favor, share this video if you think it's good. Let some people know about it. Really helps us out in a big way. If you want to help out even further, you can always check us out at patreon.com/commandersbrew and donate directly to the show and help us make all these videos and all these shows that you see us make. But without further ado, let's get to today's topic. It's the big banning.
Ooh, we got to talk about these bannings that have just been announced. So
Yeah.
it just came out at the time of recording not too long ago. We now no longer are allowed to use Paradox Engine or Iona,
Right.
the color hosing Iona.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Painter's Servant is unbanned.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that one. I have not been thinking about that one as much as I've been thinking about the first two. I will admit.
So let's get, Sean, let's get your take on these bannings to sort of lay the groundwork for our kind of what we want to talk about here. What do you think about these specific cards moving on and off the ban list?
I think that it's like it seems silly to me that these cards are banned. And I think and this comes from my overall opinion that Commander is too diverse of a game to even suggest that a group of individuals who are not the people you play with can know what's right for your play group. So, like, I mean, specifically, Paradox Engine does broken things, but if you play in a super competitive meta, which I do not, I admit, but a lot of people say, like, it's a bit too slow for the super competitive metas. Like, it comes down too late for it. So then why ban it there? Then you're only banning it for more casual things. But I also feel if you're playing casually, you're at your house, just talk to your people. We don't need a ban list. We just need people to talk to each other and be like, hey, this deck that you made, it's a bit too oppressive. It doesn't kind of match the tone of the table. So either give us time to make decks that match yours, or maybe take a card or two out to match ours. Let's just be communicators.
I got two questions for you.
Okay.
One, what about stores? What about GPs? What about when you go and you play with people you don't necessarily know?
Yes, I think it is almost more important and more valuable to start conversations there. At stores, you might make a new friend if you start conversations, right? Like, you might meet new people you love playing with, so, like, let's have these conversations. At GPs, are you playing for prizes? I mean, if you're playing for prizes, people are already doing broken things that don't involve Paradox Engine, that don't involve Iona. Like, people are already doing things that let them win in a couple of turns before people really get to play. So I think that's a whole nother issue. So, like, if a stranger sits down, it's like, hey, everybody, we don't know each other. We're sitting down to play decks. Like, what are your decks like? How does your deck want to run? Like, is it super competitive? What turn do you usually win on? Well, like, what turn do these games end on? Is yours a deck that seeks to stop other people from playing, or is yours a deck that seeks to just do crazy stuff a bit quicker than everyone else is doing, and like that kind of thing? These are better discussions to have.
The reason I ask is because, like, are you really going to have that discussion with a person you just met? Are you really, you're not going to get them to take cards out of their deck or anything. You're just going to play against that deck.
No, it's true, but here's how that conversation goes. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, you got a new deck? Oh, like how fast does this deck try to win? And I know what you're gonna say. Like, they're gonna say, oh no, 5-6 turns, and you're gonna assume that, like, well, there are people who always lie, who always say they are casual when they are competitive, because they derive, like, validation from winning.
Or there's just different scales, right? Like,
or there's different skills. So then after one game, like, if that game ends in 3 turns, or if that person sneaks out a Paradox Engine somehow very early and starts combing off, you can just be like, hey, I'm going to stop you right there. It looks like you're about to win, and it looks like we were on the wrong page about where our decks were. So let's shuffle up and start another game. You've got this one. Your deck is way out of our league. So, like, do you have a deck that's lower power that you can play that doesn't use cards like Paradox Engine? And if they lie to you again, and because this is what I'm saying, like a decent person will try to be honest, because you either want the best game possible, which means equal power levels.
But what about
or
putting Paradox in? And I'm mostly just playing devil's advocate, just so you know.
I love it. I love
we
it.
can have this discussion out here.
Yes.
What about someone who puts Paradox Engine into a deck that is pretty low powered? Like isn't a combo off deck? Isn't, you know? Do you think? Like, what do you think in that instance? Do you think that that's unfair to the people who have to play against it because it's a higher power level, that one specific card, or what?
But see, now we're talking about it in the terms of the entire deck, right? Like, so if your whole deck is overall pretty slow, pretty janky, it takes a long time to get going, your combos need like 6 pieces, and Paradox Engine is one of them, I don't think that is any world where that needs to get banned. Like, if that's what we're talking about, there is no ban list for super casual janky decks, right?
Yeah.
Super casual janky decks use uncards. Like, they use silver bordered cards because it fits this ridiculous theme they came up with, and no one ever has a problem with that. So again, like, we're talking, like, Commander is not one format. Commander is like 6 formats, from super competitive, like, CEDH. We call it CEDH, and then it goes all the way up to like, oh, this is my redheads tribal deck. Like, it's only people with red hair in it. You can't. You're telling me you can't have a ban list like for formats that are super janky. It just doesn't make sense.
So I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how Paradox Engine, all the reasons Paradox Engine needed to be banned. It goes into every deck, a lot of people are saying, which I don't see how it's broken if it's just untapping mana rocks, you know what I mean, in my, like, you know, non-artifact based Naya deck or something like that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so that is an assumption, that is an exaggeration.
Or this person's experience with it, right? Like, the either way, I think it's like, if one person's going to have an experience where it seems broken, and one person's going to have an experience where it seems fine, it's a difficult decision, and I think in those cases that's why there's a committee and a CAG, and I wonder what they said about it. I wonder what was said about it from that angle. Apparently, it's been people have been calling for it to be banned for a long time, and it was the strongest this year according to Shivam. So it's hard. It's tough to say. Then you have Iona. People are saying, and it's being banned for very different reasons. This is the thing. We got 2 bannings here that are like very different. Paradox Engine is banned because it's degenerate, and it leads to it's too powerful. It seems to, like, people. It goes in every deck and it just wins. And then Iona is like only, like, obviously only white. If you're running white, you have to run it, and then it only stops one specific thing. It stops monocolored decks, right? Even 2-color decks generally can survive, and, like, anyway, so we're dealing with 2 different arguments for 2 different cards, and it's tough to say, man. Like, Paradox Engine is a powerful card, but is it more powerful than cards similar to it? Like, you need to put stuff in that untaps it. Like, Deadeye Navigator, you mentioned before we were recording, is like, people were screaming about that getting banned for years. And it isn't, and we're still here, and everything seems fine. Banning seems like heavy to me for both of these cards. Even though I know Iona's, like, when it comes down, Iona, you're kind of like, geez, that sucks. No one responds to Iona with being like, that's perfectly fine, because it turns off. It'll turn off something that your deck does, and that never feels good. But should it be banned? Iona is the one that I can see it more on the side of, oddly enough. I think Paradox Engine is, like, a powerful card, but you still do need to build around it. If I steal your Paradox Engine in my normal whatever, in my not artifact related deck, I'm getting minimal value from it. I don't see how it warps the game. I'm sure there have been games where it has done that, but, like, I don't know.
But, like, so here's what Paradox Engine does. Paradox Engine is a tool that helps you get infinite mana.
Yeah.
Right? There's a million ways to do that in Commander. Like, there's like lots and lots of ways in all the colors, colorless cards, to get infinite mana one way or another. So that isn't the reason Like that's not a thing. So then what you're taking away is like, yeah, there might be someone out there who's like, yeah, I got a weird deck that it untaps this weird artifact and I have a weird effect. I'm going to win by doing a weird thing with it. It's like, great, I want to see those weird things. And again, it only comes down to, it comes back to that first conversation. We should be, it's like, I don't like this attitude that the rules committee has decided we are not mature enough to handle our own metas. And
Yeah.
well, some players are not mature in the sense that like they want to do degenerate things. I referred earlier to people who will lie to you because they want to just what they call them pub stomping people, where they're like, oh no, my deck is low powered, but they will pick a very high powered deck because the feeling of losing, they can't handle that. Or they just want to win. They don't want to like have a good game. And we cannot run our community's ban list to cater to those people, right? Those people
I don't think
need
that's what
to,
this is doing, though.
okay, well then sure. So then who is this unfair to?
These cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't have an answer for that. I see these cards pop up in those more competitive betas. So whenever I'm in LA and I'm playing with Jimmy and Josh and those crew, right? Like I'm seeing very powerful cards, very expensive and rare cards as well coming up. And like, yeah, okay, obviously, I guess everyone's running like this card that I didn't really consider because my meta's not like this. And in those, I think those are the metas where these problems come up. And even then, like I remember seeing Paradox Engine come up in some games in those like with those people, and it was very good, but it didn't seem like everyone was running one, and whenever it came out, the whole game focused on it. Like we had a big discussion in the Commander Summit from whenever the year that Prophet Crucifix got banned.
Right.
We really talked about that a lot, and like why it was a good idea to ban that card. And oddly enough, Josh on the keg really argued against it, but I basically understood and like in the end I guess supported it because the game completely, and you'll find this come up a lot when they talk about the bannings for Commander. The game warps around it. Everything becomes about getting that card, cloning that card, reanimating that card, and I think people have had that happen with Paradox Engine. I think that's definitely a thing that has happened. Iona, I bet less. I bet you way less that it's become about controlling Iona. Although again, it's happened. I mean, it happens to any card that's powerful from time to time, is what I'm saying here. I just don't know if I've seen the entire meta do that. Like, whenever someone played Prophet of Crucifix, everyone was about getting that card again, right? Because it did so much for your side. And Paradox Engine has the possibility to do that, but I don't even think it does the same that Prophet of Crucifix did.
I mean, I still don't
To the game as a whole.
I still don't understand why, like, if we're talking about balancing and we're talking about making it fair, like, Iona is among the most easily removed card types in our format. And I get that you can't even cast spells of your color, so you're going to target the person who most likely has the removal spells, maybe the person playing black, or if they're playing mono black. I get that it shuts off mostly your whole deck. But like why where's the conversation for like how when someone goes turn one Sol Ring, Mana Crypt, Signet, go, like how are those games so much more fair when only one player gets to have that in a game?
I think it's all about the feel bads for Iona. For Iona, it's not necessarily the power level. It's about a person sitting down thinking they're going to play their deck and it gets shut off, or half of it gets shut off, and then you're like, what is this card that just says I can't play?
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like
that's fair.
So that's why I'm like, you know what? I would never put Iona in a deck because I think it's stupid, and I don't think it's particularly fair to those decks.
So, okay.
And I'm not saying it should be banned, but I'm saying like me personally, I just never wanted to run that card. It's not my style, right? Lots of
Fair.
people have no problem running it, and that's also fair. But like, if they're gonna step in and ban it, it's like, well, you know what? That's probably fine.
Okay, but okay, so here's the next question though, right? Now that Iona is banned, we have to like what does that say about the law? Here's what we need. We need transparency about what their rationale is for banning cards. And we don't have that. Because if you're going to tell me like if a card goes in too many decks, if a card shuts people off from playing Magic, then like why isn't Void Winnower on the table? It's colorless and it just makes you not be able to play spells with even mana costs. Like that also lets you not
True.
play half your
You
deck.
want to talk about oppressive? That card, man. Ooh, yeah,
That
you're
card
right.
sucks. Like it's like, and you just accidentally are just like, well, I guess all my answers happen to be even mana spells, so I'm not able to answer this. Which is the same argument that the people facing down Iona play. I get that Iona can be a commander, so that makes it even worse. So then, I mean, is this a can of worms going to open? Why don't they just say banned as commander?
I'll
Like,
say this: I know for a fact that like Josh doesn't think Iona should be banned. I know that for a
great,
fact. And I
great.
bet you there's more people who think that. So I really wonder why it is banned.
I don't know.
I don't get it. I really don't.
I can't get away from the original thought of just like, why don't people just communicate? Like CEDH is a fully distinct format from janky brews at your kitchen table. Like although we play with the same rules, like it's a fully different game. And the fact that we apply a ban list to both of those formats that we call Commander is
Right, but
preposterous.
if CEDH wanted to go off and make their own band list and make themselves their own format, they could do that.
Of course.
Right? And if they have a big enough problem with the band list that the rules committee makes, like they have that option. They can go do that if they want. But
But that's my point. We all
no one
can.
wants to.
We all can, as casual players, just be like, you know what? None of us use Paradox Engine in a degenerate way. It makes our meta more fun for having it, so we're going to ignore this part of the ban list.
Yeah, right. And ultimately anyone can ignore the ban list too, of course, right? We always
Sure.
say that, but like really no one does.
I
When's
know.
the last time you were in a thing where someone was like, "I'm running this banned card. Is that okay?" Like it might happen once in a while, but I don't even think I've ever seen it. I've seen people ask about uncards. I've never seen them ask about a banned card though.
It's such a tricky, like I get why other formats have bannings because there isn't an infinite number of decks. Like in Modern, they just banned Bridge from Below because it's becoming dominant. There is no dominant commander deck that this needs to be a thing for.
So what do you think about when Leovold got banned?
I don't like fine. Like I mean, I see how Leovold is so degenerate, and if you sit down to the table and you have like so in my world where I say there is no ban list, we all communicate. If I sit down to play and my opponent puts Leovold on the table, I'm gonna be like, oh, maybe we misunderstood each other. This is not the kind of deck that I'm equipped to play against. This is not the kind of game I'm looking for. Do you have another deck you would mind playing? And if like, no, this is all I brought, then it's like, okay, well, for the game then, would you mind just for this game taking out your wheel effects that prevent us from having any cards in our hands?
It's his whole deck though.
But that's what I'm saying is like, well, sorry, like, I mean, I'm happy you're coming out to Commander Night, but like, this is not the type of game I'm prepared to play, nor do I want to play. You can find some other people to play with, or maybe I will find some other people to play with, but this will not be fun for either of us. So like, but who cares about the ban list, right? And so like, you could argue, well, that ban list, that guy wouldn't have even made the deck to begin with. But I guarantee there is a world where that would be fun. Like if he finds his like-minded people who love playing these decks that try to lock you out so bad, and then someone will like that can be fun. CEDH is fun if everybody is on the same level, just waiting to find what's the right thing to counter. When do I try to go off? Like turn 3, turn 4? When's the coast clear? That can be fun only if everyone's on the same page. Those people don't care about Iona.
I gotta say, yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think you're also generally right about things. I just think that, like, I think that that's a bit of an idealized situation where we don't have a band list at all, and everyone just communicates, because that's just not how it works, really. Like, how many times have you done that to people? How many times have you? I mean, obviously, we always
Every
like
time.
a lot of time we ask about, especially at like events and stuff, and like if we're playing with people who don't know, we'll often ask like, what's the power level of decks we're dealing with here? Like that certainly is something that happens all the time. But when's the last time you asked anyone to take anything out of their deck?
I haven't needed to because we've had enough of a conversation beforehand that we all came to an agreement on the kind of game we were looking for. So
Right.
no one did that sort of thing. In my example with this Leovold person, that person has no other decks with them.
Right,
So
right,
so it's like that was a compromise on my end to be like, well, I would like you to have a chance to play, and I feel like that would make it on more of a playful level where we all get to play Magic.
I think again, I think you're generally like I think you're right about less bannings means is better. I think because
Yeah.
eventually because policing us as players policing ourselves is the best thing. Like I think someone replied to us on Twitter just now like whenever I see Iona, like I don't have a problem with Iona. Like whenever I see it, I like and it hoses someone else's deck. I focus on them. I try and kill them because I don't like Iona. It's like, well, yeah, perfect. That's what's supposed to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
I did just get. I mean, this is a little longer than we wanted to go, but I did just get a look at because the rules committee page is down, I guess, because it's high traffic or whatever. But they have like I just looked at the reasons for like why they've decided on these cards and stuff, and
Oh.
it's I mean it's nothing that we didn't know. It's it says here that Paradox Engine basically clearly demonstrated that it doesn't need to be built around to be broken, and
What?
I guess it says it being able
That's
to easily slot it
preposterous.
into like any deck because it's colorless, and it combines well enough with cards that players already have in their decks, and they already have incentives to play, that it generates too much mana.
Generates
Virtually no
too
deck
much
building
mana.
cost.
Well, okay. I mean, that's their rationale. Thank you. I appreciate their transparency on that.
Yeah.
I just disagree that. See, and this is my problem. Once you start using rationale like that, then you have to apply it to all cards. You have to look at all cards with the same lens they look at with these, and we can put all kinds of like combo things on the list. And now we're back in the same dilemma where before it was like, how do we keep the ban list low? Then you either have to have a disingenuous ban list that picks and chooses cards based on other people's preferences and metas, or you just have clear rules. Like if this card is involved in any infinite mana combo, it is banned, right? And so it's like, okay, well then like that's a lot of cards, but you're either clear or you're not clear. And right now I don't like that it's not that clear.
Yeah, I guess just different levels of play are going to have different opinions on whether or not this card is too broken.
Yeah.
I guess if you're playing with all the highest level cards, maybe it is, and if you're playing on a more casual level, maybe it's not. But at the same time, not competitive because it's not competitive enough. It's you're right. Like it's a real weird area where this card lives, where it seems like it's too good to exist.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I'm bummed that my Derevi deck no longer gets Paradox Engine. I don't care that Iona's banned in that like I don't have any Ionas, and even my I don't know. I feel like people would have my back if I ever got hosed out of an Iona deck, and if I did, playing one of my monocolored decks, I think like whatever, I just lose that game. But the unbanning Painter Servant we haven't even talked about.
We haven't even talked about that.
Because it's less impactful, I think. But Painter Servant was originally banned, I guess, because it had like a crazy it's a 2-card combo with like Grindstone. Was that the card?
No, it's that one that like if it's basically you mill. There's a blue enchantment. What's it called? Where you mill 2, and if they're the same color, you mill another 2.
No, but originally it was banned based on the combo. Yeah, I think it's with Grindstone.
Oh, okay.
But you're still right. It's because it's a similar thing. It's a similar
Grindstone
effect.
doesn't care what goes to the graveyard. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, and if they share a color. Oh, so Grindstone doesn't really. Yeah, and so there's a blue enchantment that grinds every. Sure, I forgot what Grindstone.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, there's a 2-card combo that they have just put back into the game.
Yeah, and that's fine because there's a million 2-card combos in Commander. If you want to win like that, that's very easy, right? Like you can just do that. I guess they were saying because it's really quick, right? Because it's a 1 mana and a 2 mana thing. Maybe that's why it's very easy to get together. I don't know.
That artifacts are too easy to tutor up.
I guess like it's like if you're gonna put a Painter Servant in your deck, why wouldn't you also just throw a Grindstone in there?
No reason not to.
Right? Yeah, and I guess that's. Anyways, we're not talking about the ban worthiness of it. Let's talk about like what do we get to do with this card now? So it comes into play. You choose a color. All cards that aren't in play, spells and permanents of the chosen color, in addition, are of the chosen color in addition to their other colors. So like, you say blue, everything is blue now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would want to do a little Scryfall search for, like, things that care about, like, blue creatures or black permanents. Yeah.
Yeah, like Rith the Awakener, and that span of dragons, doesn't there some of them that care about the number of, like, that color permanent? Like, I think Rith cares about, like, green permanents or something, or... So you make a whole lot of tokens off that. So this even turns land... This even gives lands color, right? Like, that's the crazy thing.
Yes.
So now your lands actually are a color, so that like their colorlessness isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah. So look at Reap. I just pulled up. Reap is a green instant for 1 and a green. Return any number of target cards from your graveyard to your hand. You cannot choose more cards than the number of black permanents target opponent controls. So you throw a Painter Servant down first. Reap lets you get all your cards back from your graveyard.
Man, this card's kind of good anyways.
I think so.
Like, if you're running Regrowth, why aren't you running Reap?
There is a world where it gets 0 back.
I guess, but like...
And late in the game, like if the black player...
right? Like, someone's running black.
I guess the worst case scenario is it's just down to you and one other person, but that person isn't running black.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
But, I don't know, just cast it before the black player dies.
It's instant. Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's a fun little surprise and discovery just through the CB vlog. Well, at any rate, there it is. That's what's coming off the ban list. That's what's going on. What do you think about it? Let us know. Get at us in the comments. Get at us on Twitter. You can see we tweeted about it and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of support for the Paradox Engine banning. And I much like we don't expect the rules committee to. I don't expect Sean and me to represent everyone's experiences either, right? So, like, I guess if the majority of the people who play want it banned, like, it's tough to argue with, right? But is that the case? We don't really know. But I am seeing a lot of support for it.
I think, like, I mean, I want what's best for the community. I hope that the people who are for this banning, who Paradox Engine is making their Commander games less fun, I hope you've already had that conversation with your people who run it.
Yes, yeah, it's important to do that, and it can even be tough. We talk about a lot with like strangers, but it can even be tougher to have that conversation sometimes with your friends. So, but trying to make it happen is good, and you'll see benefits from it. I think in general. Right, John. Okay, well, that's it for this week. We'll see everyone here at the CB vlog next week. And we'll see how playing EDH for this week is with all these new bans and stuff. Okay. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.